Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 upgrades that will squeeze every bit of accuracy out of your Tikka, and most other Tikka models too. Whether you've got a T3x Lite, a UPR, Tac A1, etc., these are particular, field-tested mods. Nothing theoretical or just for looks. So lock in those targets and let's dive in. Oh, and if you enjoy these tips, make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. First up, make sure the barrel's free and the action's solid. Even a factory rifle can benefit from a proper bedding job. In simple terms, bedding means shimming or glass bedding the action so it sits rock solid in the stock, and ensuring nothing touches the barrel so it can vibrate consistently. Why does this matter? When a barrel is squeezed or stressed by the stock, each shot can shift slightly, which translates to larger groups. One guide explains that free-floated barrels tend to shoot more consistently because there's no pressure on the barrel from the stock to change the harmonics. In practice, that means tighter, repeatable groups. Similarly, experienced shooters will tell you that glass or pillar bedding often produces dramatic improvements in accuracy and consistency. In other words, getting the action bedded securely in the stock is one of the most important accuracy hacks out there. Many Tikkas come with a synthetic stock that may or may not be perfectly free-floated from the factory. I always check with the dollar bill test. Light a dollar bill or two stacked under the forend along the barrel. If you feel any resistance, file or sand a tiny amount of the stock until the barrel floats freely along its length. Be careful only to remove what's needed. Free floating eliminates any unwanted pressure or contact points, so your Tikka's barrel can vibrate the same way every shot. Next, consider bedding the action itself. Even with a free-floated barrel, if the action rocks or shifts under recoil, your point of impact will wander. Many Tikkas have a plastic bedding block, but it's often worth either shaving it for a perfect fit or doing a full glass bedding, pillar bedding job. Pillar bedding, setting hard metal pillars around the action screws, is a popular DIY approach. It locks the action to the stock in exactly the same position shot to shot. As one expert notes, the goal of bedding is to make sure the action is solidly mated to the stock to prevent any shifting of the action upon firing. If you don't want to do it yourself, a competent gunsmith can glass bed the Tikka action into the stock or epoxy fit pillars. Either way, the rifle will become more consistent. Every trigger pull will have the action in the same place, so every group will be more repeatable. Upgrading the trigger. Next on the list, give your trigger a tune-up. The stock Tikka trigger is crisp by factory standards, but most shooters will find that a high-quality aftermarket trigger drastically improves consistency. Why? A heavy or gritty trigger forces you to use more pull, which can jerk the rifle right before firing. Conversely, a light, crisp trigger break means you can be your most accurate self on every shot, as Timney advertises. In practice, that means fewer flinches and smoother shots. When you're handling a scoped rifle, even a tiny twitch while squeezing can send the bullet an inch or two off target at 100 yards. A good trigger makes it much easier to control the shot. Companies like Timney and Trigger Tech offer drop-in triggers for Tikka. Timney's Tikka model trigger even advertises a crisp, clean break for maximum accuracy. These allow you to dial the pull weight lower. Many shooters find sweet spots around 1.5 to 2.5 pounds for precision shooting. Of course, stay safe and legal in your jurisdiction when setting trigger weight. In everyday terms, swapping to a nicer trigger will lock in your shot better. I remember installing a Timney on my old bolt gun. Once it was adjusted to just over a pound, my groups noticeably shrank. On a Tikka, it's the same story. Many owners report jumping from a 1 MOA group to a half MOA or better after a trigger swap, plus proper bedding and ammo. The simple reason, the trigger lets you hold steady longer and break the shot without moving the rifle. If you're feeling DIY, some triggers are true drop-ins. Just remove the action and swap it in, while others might need some fitting. Timney even has an installation video for their Tikka triggers, and Trigger Tech's design uses a roller for an ultra-smooth pull. Match-grade ammunition and consistent loads. All right, trigger fixed. Great. Now let's talk ammo. This one might seem obvious, but it deserves a section of its own. Jim Harmer even leads one accuracy checklist with ammo, 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 emphasizing that the first key to accuracy is what you're shooting. Even a perfectly tuned rifle can only shoot as well as that ammo allows. What this means for us: try the best factory match loads you can find, or better yet, develop your own hand loads. Factory hunting ammo will group fine for plinking, but if you're chasing true sub-MOA performance, match-grade rounds are a must. For example, in .308, you might try something like Hornady 168 grain match, Federal Gold Medal, or Lapua factory match. See what your Tikka likes best. I often print groups at 100 yards to compare 3 or 4 brands. It's common to see a big difference. One ammo might shoot half-inch groups, while another is around 1.5 inch from the same rifle. That's a huge spread. If you reload, tailor your hand loads to your barrel. Neck tension, powder charge, and seating depth can all affect precision. Even small changes, like seating your bullet a few thousandths deeper, can shave off a few hundredths of an inch in group size. It takes time, but the payoff is real. Some guys build loads for half MOA rifles that keep them inside that lane all day. Of course, always start safe and work up carefully. Besides load development, consistency in shooting process matters too. Use a stable rest or bipod. A solid bench mag or monopod will keep POI steady, and let the barrel cool if it's getting hot. Barrel heat can make consecutive shots climb slightly. But fundamentally, treat ammo as part of the gun system. A Tikka with a micrometer adjustable barrel will shoot better with Lapua brass and a tight tolerance bullet than with any random match ammo off the shelf. Upgraded stock and ergonomics. Next, let's look at the rifle itself, stock and fit. One thing Backfire noticed about the T3x Lite was that its standard plastic stock is not very rigid and even has a butt pad that's too stiff, leading to heavier felt recoil. On a bench that translates to more rifle movement and flinching, we can fix that. First, recoil management. Switching to a softer pad or a thicker pad can absorb more kick, so you're not being yanked off target as the shot breaks. I've installed limb saver or limb saver type pads on several rifles with great results. You'll feel like you can shoot just a bit looser because the backward jerk is reduced. For the Tikka Tac A1 or other chassis models, you might swap out the chassis buttstock for one with a built-in recoil reduction system or a better pad. Every ounce of comfort helps when you're trying to squeeze groups. Cheek weld is another stock factor. A consistent cheek position means your eye is in the exact same spot behind the scope each time. Even the stock synthetic stocks can benefit from an added cheek riser. There are many Picatinny mounted or stick-on adjustable risers. By doing this, every shot starts with your eye perfectly aligned, reducing vertical dispersion and parallax errors. On the Tac A1 chassis or UPR, adjustable comb heights are often built in. Use them. For a standard T3X, something like an adjustable cheek piece or even improvised solutions like layered adhesive foam can do wonders. Once your head's locked in, the sight picture is repeatable, so your grips tighten. If you're really serious, you can go all out with an aftermarket chassis or stock. Guys take Tikka actions and drop them into aluminum or carbon fiber chassis, like MPA BA chassis or KRG HS Precision stocks, which are far more rigid than the factory polymer. These can add weight, helping smooth recoil, and offer precision adjustability for length of pull, cheek height, and more. Even a heavy Manners hunting stock made for all-day carry can be stiffer and more comfortable than the stock plastic. That said, keep in mind ergonomics too. The Tikka's light and easy to carry, so balance benefits with weight if it's your elk rifle. But you don't always need a new stock to get accuracy gains. Sometimes just bedding as above and a better pad cheek piece will suffice. The key is consistency. A sloppy or hard shoulder pocket means inconsistent recoil management. A rigid stock flexes unpredictably. By upgrading these, every time you mount the rifle, it feels the same. Again, Backfire's note is apt. The stock geometry on the Lite model was only acceptable. We're going beyond acceptable with this step. In practice, I once swapped a Tikka's buttstock for an aftermarket padded one and reduced my group sizes by a noticeable amount, probably from 0.8 MOA down to 0.5 MOA on average. Others have gone MDT or XLR chassis for their Tac A1 and swear by the difference. High-quality optics and mounting. Last but by no means least, your scope and how it's mounted. A top-notch rifle deserves a top-notch sight. A clear, sharp optic with the right magnification will not magically tighten groups, but it lets you see and hold on target much better, which in turn yields more precise shooting. That said, there are a few performance tips here just beyond throwing on a name-brand scope. First, pick a scope that matches your shooting. If you're doing long range or precision, consider a second focal plane scope with high magnification, 20x or more, so you can see small target anomalies. If you hunt from a blind or mostly want quick target acquisition, maybe a 3 to 12x or 4 to 16x. Brands like Trijicon, Leopold, Night Force, or Schmidt & Bender often come up in conversations, as do some high-end affordable options like Track Optics or the new Vortex Razor lineup. The main thing is glass quality and repeatability. Personally, I like Crisp reticles. First focal plane ballistic reticles are fantastic for dialing ranges. But remember, a $500 scope with rock-solid mounting is generally better than a $2,000 scope on loose rings. Which brings us to mounting. I can't stress this enough. Tighten your scope hardware correctly. Even a sub-MOA Tikka will open up if the rings or base go sloppy. As one gunsmith article bluntly says, when a normally accurate rifle starts scattering bullets, the first thing to check is the scope base and rings torque. Use a calibrated torque wrench on your ring screws. Snug them per the manufacturer's spec, often around 15 to 20 inch-pounds for scope rings. Make sure the base is seated perfectly on the receiver and the screws are torqued evenly. Also check ring caps and scope body for any uneven pressure.